This is Rod Slater speaking, and I have Graham Gibb next to me, and we're here in the house of Mary Burke, who was a legendary figure at Watson's, who taught there from 1967 to 85, and who is now, she has just told us, remarkably 94 years old. So congratulations. And we'd like to chat to you mainly about your experiences at school, but before that, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you were born and brought up?
When I was 6 months old, I was taken to Chicago because my father had gone out there to work. My mother and I were listed on the passenger list as Helen Rattray and infant, and I was the infant. So there for 9.5. Then came the war. My father died, and the Wall Street crash came, and we were virtually penniless because of the Wall Street crash. So then we came back to a little village called Wooler, where my uncle lived, and I attended the Church of England school there, got a scholarship, went to the Duchess School Annick, got a matriculation there, and then was at home for a year, and then war broke out, and I went. They asked for anyone who'd got a school certificate, and I should have thought about that more seriously, because I put my hand up, and they then found I was on a gun site doing radar eventually, on a field in the outer London, over the Chatham dockyard. I was very happy there, and then when radar became obsolete, I took a PE course to train as a PE teacher, and I went to Farnborough and the Police Military College at Henley. So I came out as a PE teacher and got married and came up to live in Edinburgh, and I only had an English certificate, which was issued after the war, but I taught at St Serph's until it amalgamated. The teachers who owned it sold it, and it went to the parents, and I thought it was time I got my Scottish testimonial, so I had to go to Murray House, which I thought would be a year. It turned out 3 years, so did that, and then applied to go to Longniddry and Watson's, and so did Margaret Sharp. We attended the same interview, and we both started work on the next term, the same day. The same day with Margaret? And that was in 1967. 67. Yes. So and you worked together with Margaret for many years. Until I retired.
You remained very good friends.
She was deputy head of the junior school eventually, but we started together at St Albans Road, which was a very precious school.
Yes, tell us a little bit more about St Albans Road then.
Well, St Albans Road was very special. They had the infants department, then the lower junior, and it was run efficiently by the janitor, Mr Officer, who kept us all right, and no parking was allowed if it wasn't the right side of car, or more or less. We had a very good library there, and Miss Fleming used to come down once a term after we'd written our reports and sign them. But sadly, as we were primary 5 and she'd gone through from infants, she smoked heavily. And there was a very small library, so we couldn't really see her by the time we got in. But I had very much respect for Mrs Fleming. She was a very good head teacher. We worked very well there. Changed things a little bit with reading, and they introduced a reading laboratory, which I didn't like, because the children could more or less mark themselves up to which grade they'd go to, and it wasn't very satisfactory. So then we got on to an idea of getting sets of books and changing them together. So we encouraged children to read very much, so, and that was, what else? Oh yes, instead the craft was interesting because we decided it should be child-centred. And the year of the Commonwealth Pool, we had a very good Commonwealth Pool, which probably cost us as much as it did to build the Commonwealth Pool, because a certain person of some distinction came down the stair and put her foot in it and completely ruined it. Oh. I want to mention it, but when I say she's an MSP now, you perhaps get what I'm talking about. That should probably be blue pencils.
I hope she'll be an MSP tomorrow.
Yeah. So sadly we had that was fine. Miss Clark Wilson was replaced by a Mrs Dick because she had an accident. What else did we do there?
Were you very separate from the ladies' college?
Oh yes, but yes. Once a year we went the day they tested the girls to see if they were up to standard for going up to the senior bit was in George Square.
Mm.
The people from George Square came down and took our classes to make sure it was all authentic, and we went up to George Square for a day and took the classes. But yeah, we were very much a little unit in St Albans. It was a very happy school, and we had a field across the road where we took our games and things, and I say, what else can I tell you?
Is that field still there, or has it been developed?
The Bank of Scotland bought this school, and then I don't think I think somebody else has it now. I would think it's been built up now.
Then when the amalgamation was mooted,
yes.
what were your first thoughts?
Well, I must say, I think all of the ladies' college hoped we wouldn't amalgamate at the beginning. They're very much, I think girls are very easy to teach. We thought, you know, we didn't mind too much, Margaret and I, because we both had families which were boys and girls. But I think a lot of the ladies who spent their lives teaching girls, and they were very successful too, and they worked well. But no, there was a lot of resentment really about it at the time. And I think the boys felt exactly the same. I mean, I couldn't understand it. And there was some talk that we might be building and having a new building somewhere, but that the merchant company in their wisdom decided we should amalgamate. And as I say, Margaret Sharp and I took the first 2 classes of primary 5 up.
And so you took your classes up,
yes, yes,
and they became mixed.
They became mixed.
What was it like for you?
Well, the children were fine, but obviously the staff had been used to teaching boys just as we'd been teaching girls, and they weren't too happy about it at first, but eventually it worked well. But you know, there weren't facilities for mixed loos and things like that. I think people were standing guard. But they were very, very interesting staff. There was Jim Curl, and another man, Mr. Gilray, but he had an interesting forename, but I don't think I should tell you that. And
we could edit it out.
We could edit it out. It was called Killer Gilray, because he used the strap ferociously. The strap stopped when we got there. That was may have stopped before. But they wouldn't use the strap after that, because they did. And,
they did, but you didn't in
No,
St.
no, and they didn't do it. No.
And it stopped immediately after the amalgamation.
I think it was immediately, but it certainly didn't happen to my knowledge after we moved in. Sadly, we had a very fine headmaster, Jim Smith, and I think he died on the premises, if I remember rightly. It was a snowy day, and he pushed his car up or down where they lived, Braid Farm Road, I think they lived in, and he died in this school. And it was horrible because you could feel his presence. He always appeared in his gown, and he was a lovely man, and a very good teacher. And he used to say, "Just leave it with me." And if you want, I'm frightened about this being.
Oh no, please, let's just speak freely.
Well, he had his wife Thelma taught on the staff as well. And if you'd had a class for some time and you thought maybe things should be different, if you inherited the same ones year after year, if you managed to speak to Thelma about it, it usually happened. So please edit that out.
Okay.
But I mean, that
so
happened.
She was the power behind the throne then.
Yes. She always wore beautiful hats and platform parties.
Yeah.
I must say, when we were at St Albans Road, we used to go to the Founders' Day services or some service in the school, and all the old teachers used to come with their hats and things. And Margaret and I decided that when we left Watson's, we wouldn't go back and be on a platform committee, and we never did. But no. Anyway.
When you moved to Collington Road, there must have been a lot of difficulties.
There were, because, as I say, it was very much, we had to just give and take, and, you know, for example, we were given, we thought everything should be shared, so we were given the people who didn't much like cricket, we got them, it was obligatory to play cricket some afternoons, and we got ones who, Margaret and I, were encouraged to coach cricket. Well, now, we came from cricketing families, but neither of us had a clue, so her husband was a cricketer, so he taught us how to pack a cricket bag and to bowl like throwing a hand grenade. But we couldn't be doing with that, so I was very keen on netball. I'd done it in the army and all my life. I was a fairly good netball player. So Daphne Payton and I got Daphne on side, and we started the netball in the junior school. At that stage, they did the cricket, we did the netball. And Alec Payton introduced cross-country running for a while, and that was very successful for those who didn't like netball. So, that was quite interesting. What else happened? Oh, this day 6 came into somewhere. I didn't think that was St Albans. They decided to have a day 6 curriculum, which was weird. That took a bit of getting used to.
What was that?
Well, instead of having a 5-day week, you had a 6-day period, whereas you know, Monday to Friday, that was 5 days. Well, you went 6 days with your curriculum, and on day 6, you took another class in some form of craft.
Oh, yes.
And again, that was quite interesting.
And what did you do? What sort of craft?
Well, it was quite easy, you know, we made things, but I remember us giving to one member of staff, Margaret and I, well, we liked everybody, but it was a bit difficult, so we suggested she did origami. And all day, every time we went past, she was practicing. We were pretty wicked, really, but happy days.
And say a couple of years after the amalgamation, when you look back, how did you feel then?
Oh, fine. It worked very well. Eventually, it was really very good. But to begin with, it was tricky, and it was understandable. I mean, they had their own staff room, their own staff, and I remember Christine Thompson. Because we used to this genteel ladies' college you realised down in St Albans, and she came and nobody had made the tea, and there was a teapot, and she banged it on the radiator and said, who hasn't made the tea? And we thought, dear me, you know, she'd made a dent in the teapot. When I first went to France, I got a box, and then it was a tin teapot. And Christine Thompson, because I kept saying, you're terrified of these. But no, it was a very different, but it was much better because children are better brought up in the gym, mixed. Life is real, isn't it, you know, and that's how it is. Oh no, it worked very well. The boys were lovely as well, you know, you get used to. But there was one famous, and again, this isn't to be edited, when Margaret Shaw got a girl who had a tantrum. She had a real tantrum in the class, and I can't remember why. So when she exhausted it all out, I don't know what I would have done in the circumstances, but Margaret said, you know, some of us missed that. Would you mind doing it again?
Oh, yes.
Absolute piece.
Yeah, oh.
Flawed.
I don't know we should edit that. I think that's a very good way of handling.
Brilliant.
Yes.
And we had a Miss Brighton. She came up with us to the boys' school, and she had a quiet manner, and she'd say to a child, "You are as straight as a letter S," and her quiet voice, and this. She absolutely made them, you know, bow down. She was very good with did you know Nan Bryden talk?
Yes, I did.
But she had this quiet voice, and she could, whereas some other people might give them a row, she didn't. She could just quell them with this straight as a letter.
Yes. And when you took a class, your primary 5, you took them for everything, for their arithmetic, their English and so on. They weren't sent off to...
No, they were sent off to art, and they were sent off to domestic science, Mrs. Roberts.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that was a famous thing too. All the boys had to learn to knit.
Yes.
Teddy bears.
Yes.
By the way, she's still a great friend of mine. Anyway, so the rugby playing fathers were not too happy about this. So what did Sir Roger do? He used to knit jumpers for his wife, Mary. He came into the class and knitted.
Good. Yes, I'd heard that.
On 2 occasions he did that.
Yes.
So that put an end to that problem.
Yes.
They carried on knitting teddy bears.
Was it true that Sir Roger had learned to knit during the war?
I don't know when he learned.
Naval service,
yeah,
which
probably
is what
still.
they did,
Yes, I think that's probably true, but I know he knitted very smart knitwear for his wife, Mary. So.
Yeah. Now, you've mentioned Sir Roger.
Yes.
I worked with him just for 2 years, you for a lot longer. Tell me what you thought of him.
I had great respect for him. I didn't work so long because he only came down to the junior school at St Albans Road on high days. Well, he came once a week, I told you, and read a poem. Yes. But he was always, he used to have at-homes for the staff. And they were quite jolly, you know, we'd all go around and have a little glass of something and a shortbread. And my husband, who wasn't very social, but he met Keith Pearson.
Yeah.
I think he was from Lancaster, Lancashire man.
Yes.
So
Uh-huh.
well, my husband was Lancashire, so he always found Keith Pearson who kept him company.
Yes.
But, no, Sir Roger was, I admired him greatly, and I think he had great respect. Of course, we also did in the junior school, we started going on summer camps to Meagle.
Oh, yes.
And that was great.
Which is next week. It's taking place, yes.
I bet it's different now.
Tell us about those early days in
Yeah,
Meagle.
Meagle. Well, it was lovely. We all had these little huts and things, and staff at each end. And we had sort of a climbing frame to climb along, and in the film did treasure hunts in wet weather, and pieces of paper disintegrated. But no, it was lovely, and it was one, Anne Roberts, the domestic science teacher. She was known for keeping control pretty well, but she's very gentle. But she shouted at kids a bit. Anyway, we shared a dormitory, one end and now the other, and we had a wee staff room where we had cups of coffee and things at night after they'd all got settled down. We'd settled them all down, and we were just having a coffee before we went back to bed. So Anne said, "Don't you worry, I'll go over and sort them out." So that's fine, and I know it's done. So I went over about 20 minutes later. Riotous, absolutely. I said, "Hasn't Mrs. Roberts been in?" They said, "Yes, but she's sleeping." Those are the sort of things I remember about going to Meagle. But and of course there were lots of pranksters. I think Daphne used to play tricks on Donald in his very early days. They both went practically brand new from college then, you know. So, and there was a famous story, and I may have got it slightly wrong, about Roy Mack and Ian Gordon.
There are many stories about Roy Mack, but tell us
this
this one.
We know the story, so keep going. Yes.
Well, I may have got this out of context. It's so long ago. But Ian Gordon had a house. He was a housemaster. They had little boarding houses, two of them. And he was told there was an Arab potentate coming, was thinking about sending his child to boarding school. Do you know this story? So I'm boring you.
No, keep going.
So he got the place clean and scrubbed and cleaned, and all the kids in their #1 clothes and everything. They spent ages cleaning it, as you do for an inspection. You have it all smart. And this Arab came in with, I think, with flowing robes, as I heard it, because I only heard it, I didn't see it. And it was going around inspecting things. And either a girl, I think it was a girl, or I think it was, I could be wrong, said something in Arabic, because I think she had Arabic origins or something. And he did dancing, and she tried something else. And it was a time when there were sort of spy stories going around about in Britain, you know, people, and she said, "There's something wrong here." And I think Sir Roger was in on this, because he was there, and she said, "I think we should get the police." And now I could be wrong in telling this story, it could be bits were missing or bits added to, but he had to admit it. Ian Gordon was furious. They were best of friends, but they always were doing tricks on each other out of school time. But that was a classic, really. We went to Munich. I used to go to Munich. Because,
yes.
We used to go, I think I've been 3 times to Munich with the school party, which was always interesting.
Donald was a great Munich fan, wasn't he? Maybe he started this visit, I don't know.
No, I'm trying to think who did start it. Might have been Donald. But they were very successful, because the children all wore uniform, we got civic receptions in the town hall, because they looked so smart when they were all kitted out, and they weren't used to seeing this. And they played, I think it was Alec Peaton really, because they played interscholastic games. And of course I enjoyed that very much. Went up to see all these lovely castles of Mad King Ludwig and things. So
Neuschwanstein and places.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I liked that. I did 3 of those. I think we stayed in a youth hostel in Munich. Something else I thought about, I forgot what it was. But it was Meagle and Munich. But they were very happy days, and lots of fun. I see Miss Grant is still going strong. She taught in the junior school and had a very bad fall, and I think gets about with 2 sticks. But so few people I know now that are still popping around.
So Mary, you've got some wonderful memories of Watson's and some great stories that we didn't know.
Yes.
If you were going into teaching now, What advice would you give a young teacher?
Graham's asking
Yes,
because
yes.
his daughter
Yes.
is in her third year of
Yes.
primary teaching. So
Well, you've got to really have a real love of children, and first of all, and I think you've got to be sympathetic in as much as you can sometimes see two sides of a problem. You know, that if the homework's not done, there may be a good reason for it. If I think in general you just got to love children, love your work and enjoy it, and encourage them as much as you can. I'm a great one for encouraging, and not if things go wrong, try and find out what's gone wrong and sort it out.
You were saying you really loved poetry.
Oh, I love poetry.
What's your favourite poem?
Well, my favourite one, let me think. I always come up with Tiger, Tiger, don't I? What else? I've got so many. I like all the war poems, Wilfred Owen.
oh
Yes,
yes,
they're lovely. What else? I like them all. What's the one about the woods? Is there anybody there, said the traveller, knocking on the moonlit door? That sort of thing.
Yes.
I tell you what, I was thinking back. Something we did at Watson, and I liked it. We did mental arithmetic every day before Mass.
Yes.
Mental arithmetic, and 10 spelling words a day. And these children could spell, and they could count.
Yes.
I can remember a lot of the children by name, you know, as they were.
Yes. Yes.
But I had a soft spot for
And you felt that reading was really
Oh, I
important.
thought reading was vital, and you could bring it into every subject really, and understanding. I mean, if you did, as I say, this thing on the Grand County, you did your English work around it, and that was the book, and you could go into detail of characters and things. No, I loved reading myself, and I loved to encourage the children to read, and I've sorted out all my grandchildren too. Got them all
You have,
reading.
yes, good. Do you still read a lot yourself?
My eyesight's not good now, so I don't read as much as I did. But I'm reading a lot of David's book because he puts it in a big font for me, so that I can read it. But no, I don't. But I've got a Kindle, and I can use that.
And
but
you can change the
yes,
font.
But I do more I do more crosswords. I don't have much time for reading. I know that sounds ridiculous,
Yes,
but it's so.
Mary, it's been lovely talking to you. And if this hasn't worked, we'll be back next week for another of your lovely afternoon teas and more of your memories.
And even if it has worked, I'd like to come back and chat for some more anyway.
Oh, I can give you a lot more stories, but they're not for print.
So thank you very much indeed.
It's been a great pleasure.